Hi everyone, myself Abhishek. In this demonstration, I'll be discussing how we have integrated SailPoint with the DocuSign. So these are the following details which need to be configured for the DocuSign application. Name, which specifies the name of the application. Owner, which specifies the application owner, and the application type. The connector which we need to connect from the DocuSign to the SailPoint. For this, we are using the web service connector, where web service connector can be used for a REST API or the SOAP API. In this, we will be seeing the configuration. So inside the configuration tab, we will be having settings, schema, and the provisioning policy. So inside the settings configuration, we will be configuring the all the details like base URL, context URL, and all the details which we need to connect from a DocuSign to the SailPoint. And inside the schema, we will be configuring all the attributes which we need to fetch from the DocuSign and save it inside the SailPoint. And the provisioning policy has the policies for the different operations like create, update, delete. So inside the settings, so we will be having a general settings. So inside general setting, we will be need to add the base URL. The base URL will be common for the all the application, all the operations which are present inside the application. And the authentication method we are configured as a no authentication, as if no for the DocuSign. We are configured as a no authentication. And inside, once we configure this general settings, so the next will be the connector operation. So this connector operation may be different for the different operations. So as you can see, we are having the account aggregation, group aggregation, create, update, enable, delete, and disable. So this test connection configuration used to test the details which are, so as you can see here, you can see that like a test connection successful. Once we will get the test connection successful, the DocuSign is able to connect with the SailPoint through the API successfully. Once we are able to connect, now we will be configuring the account aggregation operation. So inside this account aggregation operation, so we will be having the need to add the context URL. So this context URL will be different for the different operation, and the method which we will be setting as a get, because like we will be setting that we will be getting the details from the DocuSign to the sale point. And the header, so this header, for setting header, we have written the before rule, where this before rule will used for the fetching the details and generating the tokens, and it will be updating inside this key and the value pair. And the body is not required for the account aggregation. So the these are the schema attribute and the attribute path. So this attribute path specifies the attribute which we need to fetch from the DocuSign, and the schema attribute are the attribute which we will be saving inside the sale point by specifying the name. And the root path specifies the JSON path format for the response of get all user. A successful row response code will be mentioned to specify the sale point, that whenever the status is 200 or between 200, so it will be showing as a completed status. So once we configure all these details, so the same details we will be updating inside the schema. So like first name, last name, and company permission. Once we add all the details, we will be checking by clicking on the preview button. So this preview button will be able to fetch all the details. All details in the sense, for previewing, we'll be getting only the 10 number of users. For checking, we are able to fetch the details or not. So once we are getting, so we can run the account aggregation. So this account aggregation task, I'll be showing you like how we'll be performing that one. And next we'll be having the groups. So this group aggregation task is used for fetching the groups. Similar to that, we'll be configuring the context URL and the method as a get. So this header will be set by the same rule which has been added for the account aggregation. So before, so this DocuSign generate JWT token rule, and inside the response, so we will be adding this group name, group type, and the group ID which we are fetching from the DocuSign, and this group name, group type which we are saving inside the SailPoint, and the root path for the JSON response. Once we add all the details for this group aggregation, we need to add the same inside the schema for the object type as a group. So here we need to add the inside attribute group name, group type, and once we add all the details, we need to click on the preview. So this preview will fetch all the groups name and IDs. Similar to that, we have the same thing for the permission profile. We need to fetch the group of permissions. So where the context URL will be different, then the method will be the similar, and the header will be set by this before rule, DocuSign generate token rule, and the response where the response will be different, where we need to fetch permission profile ID and the permission profile name, and the root path will be different for the different response. Once we configure the same thing, we will be configuring inside the schema, inside the object type of permission profile. Now we will be seeing the operations like create, update, delete. So for create, update, deleting, triggering, so we will be just checking by so we'll be triggering that one by using the form access request form. So before that, we'll just check the configuration what we have configured here. So here you can see we have added the context URL, and the method will be changing as a post for creating, and this header will be added by the same rule of the DocuSign generate JWT token rule, and the body where we'll be adding the user ID, plan, email, and the groups. So which are fetching all the details from the plan, from the workflow. So for this response is not required. So once we configure all the details, similar to that, we will be having the update operation. Where update, we have the update groups and update accounts. Where update groups is used for the updating the group for the specific user. Here we can see for the specific user. So these are the details. So for that group, we will be adding in that user, and the method will be changing as a put. If you want to update the details of that user, we are using the update account. So inside this update account, we will be updating the permission profile, username, email. So these and all details can be updated by using the update account. So once we complete our create update, so we will be having the enable operation. So this enable operation where you have added the remove signed. So once the user is been deleted, it will be assigned with the resign tag. So during the enable operation, it will check if the user is like assigned with the resign tag, then it will be removed. And if the user is like not having the username will be proceeded. So if you want to check the enable account, so for the enable account, the mandatory, so the context URL will be the similar to that of update, and the method will be the put. But the thing here is like body will be different, where we need to send this send activation email for activating that user, for enabling that user in case enabling that user. Once you have done, so we'll be having the delete account where we'll be deleting the user. So for deleting the user, the The method will be changing as a delete, and the context URL will be the different. So inside the body we will be sending the user ID, for which user ID the account should be deleted. So account should be deleted in the sense, it's just a soft delete rather than the hard delete. Only the status will be changed. The user will not be completely removed. So the disable will be also the similar thing, but the only difference is for during the delete operation, uh, we have added the resign tag, but while during disabling, we have not added the resign tag. So before coming inside, so we have added some provisioning policy where we will be checking as per previously I mentioned. So we will be checking the user is containing the resign tag or not. If the user is containing resign tag, then we will remove the resign tag, then we'll send. During this is similar to during the enable operation. Like that we have user ID and the username. So before performing the account aggregation, we need to add this correlation rule. So this correlation rule will avoid the uncorrelated orphan accounts to be created inside the SailPoint. So we are correlated with the email, where email is the unique attribute which we are fetching from the DocuSign, and this account details we will be getting once we have performed the account aggregation. So for the rules, we have added the customization rule and DocuSign before provisioning plan. So this customization rule is used for the changing the status. If the user status for the account is closed, then the IQ disabled is equal to true. If it is false, then it will be like flag will be a green color. I'll just showcase like how the accounts flag. Here you can see if the status is closed, then it will change to a red color. This status is closed. Here you can see user status is not closed, so it is active. Now we'll be seeing on this. So I'll be also showcasing this DocuSign generate JWT token rule. So this generate JWT token rule is usually used for fetching the details from the JWT, where we need to add the all the details which are required for generating the token inside the JWT. Once we generate the JWT token, we will be updating that one inside the token generation API. This token generation API will be fetching the token, and this token will be used for the all the operation before performing like create update. So all this operation requires that one. Now we will be checking on the task like account aggregation. This is the DocuSign account aggregation which you have configured. So we will be running inside this DocuSign account aggregation task. So this account aggregation task is used to fetch the details. Sometime due to some intermittent issue, the APIs will be getting blocked. So due to that, we will be facing some error. That one will it can be handled based on the environment. As of now, I am using this sandbox, so it will take little the account aggregation is completed. Similar to that, we have done the DocuSign group aggregation also. Here we can see all the groups which offers like permission and the groups. So inside the sale point, it is saved inside the entitlement catalog where we can just check the filtering the name, run search. So these are all the DocuSign groups and permission profiles which we have first. So these and all we will be using inside the form. So before that, we will be just checking the DocuSign rule. So this DocuSign rule is basically used for the generating the token. So we'll just check if you are able to generate the token. Or else we can check directly from here configuration and click on the test connection. So this the test connection will be used for generating the token and that so this test connection basically mention we are able to connect from SailPoint to a DocuSign. Here we can see the test connection is successful. Now we'll take any one of the identity. You just try to request for that identity. We'll take Calvin. So for that user, the email should be the mandatory field. Email should be so here you can see it doesn't have the DocuSign application. We we have created a separate quick link for that. So DocuSign access request. Once we click on that, we will be populating the form. So inside this field, we need to and also we have added the help text where no email will not be displayed. So identity which doesn't has email will be not displayed. Once you add that one, so you can see the user details form will be populated where user ID, department, and the username are auto populated based on the identity attribute details. And the groups we will be selecting based on what groups which we need to add and the permission what permission we need to add for that user. So after that we'll be clicking on the submit. So once we click on the submit, though so the next process will be like it will goes inside the workflow and it will start to building the plan. Once the plan is completed, it will next to go to the provisioning and the account will be created. So before that, we'll just try to check that one inside the access request. So inside the access request, it will just showcase the status if it is created. Okay, so here we can see the status is completed. Now we'll try to check similarly that user inside this identity. So here you can see the application document is created, but we are not able to see the remaining details like user status. So for that, we need to perform the account aggregation task, DocuSign account aggregation task. So which will fetch the remaining details from the DocuSign application. As I mentioned, so the sometime due to the some intermittent issue, so this issue will be occurring. So we can just try to run one more time. So the aggregation will be taking time based on the number of identities which are present inside the DocuSign. So identity updated one. So we'll just try to check that identity. So after every operation, if you want to replicate some changes, so we need to perform this account aggregation task. Here you can see the user status, user ID, profile name, profile ID. So these and all details will be populated. Now we'll try to update the user. We'll just try to update this permission profile. So for that, we can just go to the same manage access, DocuSign access request. So inside this, once you select the user, so if the user is already exists, then it will go to the update form. So before you are seeing the user details, so this and details will be populated, and the user group will be just updating to the different group, and the permission profile. So before it was a DocuSign, now we'll be using DS sender with bulk. Once you completely verify, we'll just click on the submit button. So they should also go inside the same workflow where the plan will be created, where and then it will be next going to the provisioning step. After that, the account will be updated. So before that, we'll just try to check inside the access request which are requested is what status is a completed or pending or provisioning. So here you can see it is completed. When we go inside the identity and we'll try to check. So here we can see the permission profile is not is not updated. So to replicate the details which has been updated, now it is DocuSign Viewer. We'll just try to perform the account aggregation task. So the accounts are getting ignored. So the ignoring in the sense the accounts which are not correlated. So that and all accounts will be ignored. So these and all accounts are not correlated with this application. So these and all are ignored. So we'll just try to check that identity. Identity one is updated. Where you can see the provisional profile is getting updated. Dear sender bulk. So now in the scenario like if the manager or uh, his admin want to disable his user, so he can disable like manually by going manage access, manage account. So here we can select the user details, manage, then we'll be selecting on the disable, confirm, and the details, and we'll be click on submit. Once we click, so it will be waiting for the disable. So this approval will be going to the manager. So we can forward. So as of now, I am having the admin credential. I can only forward to myself. View the approval. It will take some time. So okay, it's completed. Access request, it is set to a provisioning. So we'll just try to the perform intense task and request maintenance. So these tasks are the common which will be running defaultly by SailPoint. Now we'll try to run the DocuSign account aggregation to check the user status. So before that, we'll just try to check the identities status. What is the status of current? So here we can see the status of from the SailPoint is changed, but not from the DocuSign. So to get the changes from the DocuSign, we need to perform the DocuSign account aggregation. So basically for the prod and all, we will be scheduling the account aggregation for every like for daily 3 times or 4 times based on the requirement of the application. Now the aggregation is completed. I just try to check that identity. Before it was activation sent. Now the user status should be changed to a closed. So here you can see user status is changed to a closed.